thank you for being here, and thank you for staying here with me for the next 25 minutes. I'm Soujanya. I'm here. Would like to present my speaking topic, which is like AI-enhanced Strangler pattern, cognitive legacy system transformation. So I'm actually working with Endeavor Solutions, which is actually I'm working as a product manager to Cigna Evernorth Solutions from Endeavor Solutions. So coming to the topic that today I would like to outline on the transformations that we actually try to put on the legacy systems with AI strategies. In this presentation today, I would like to outline how AI-enhanced Strangler pattern acts as a strategic approach to gradually modernize cognitive legacy systems. Also, would like to emphasize why this is necessary for the current technologies or the current enterprises as a need of the hour. So probably you would have all come across being into multiple organizations and enterprises with your experience, insurance companies, banking systems, and a lot of big giant world technologies are used where they have been relying on legacy age-old applications like COBOL, DataPower, on IBM WebSphere. All these technologies are very well outdated. I cannot say like they are outdated, though they are improving since these technologies are built or these applications are built on these age-old technologies. We are in a state that like it is a need of the hour to improve them continuously. So my talk today is going to emphasize on the pattern that can be utilized for you to implement how you can actually approach it in order to modernize that. So imagine your organization as a powerful ocean-going vessel, which is built for speed and agility. Beneath the surface, a massive rusted anchor that is dragging you down. This anchor is nothing but your legacy technologies, which is like whenever they are impacting, these anchors or the legacy technologies are impacting your growth in all means that we will actually discuss further as we go. These legacy technologies are outdated by design, as told, as a lot of organizations strive to adapt rapid market strategies and changes because of they're relying most of their technologies or most of their applications on the legacy technologies, which plays a crucial role in this. And also the high maintenance cost that involves in maintaining these technologies, because 70% of their IT budgets in a lot of Fortune 500 companies, they had to tend to maintain these in order to be compliant or to maintain a day-to-day, everyday maintenance that is needed across these functionalities. And we are trying to digitalize the businesses that are nearly built in 1980s or 70s, which is actually you building on top of these applications or age-old bases is even more tumbling than actually maintaining them. So we are not building on a strong base to talk about, which means we are falling behind the competitors. These applications aren't just aging out. They are acting as obstacles for your business growth, for your future, and making them slower and slower and less innovative and more expensive for us to run. Also, as said, they are definitely innovation killers because the rigid and outdated architectures that are built across these functionalities are so strong that it is very difficult for the teams to become more agile and make the innovation changes, or the limited integration capabilities is definitely a roadblock. Then the budget drain that we discussed already is completely a budget drain, as it is a no-brainer, because when there are vendor lock maintenance fees and skilled resource scarcity for these age-old technologies where we cannot even afford to put back to maintain them in a proper state. So most of the applications that are built in this legacy state, we are actually trying to maintain them as is instead of making a new innovation. Apart from this, there is another challenge that we need to think about is the risk exposure. Every year, regulations evolve. Security vulnerabilities and data governances keep coming up. And these legacy systems struggle to keep up to the pace, and what starts as a manageable challenge will now become a liability for us. And also, like the scale of the problem or the barrier can be consolidated, saying that 75% of the Fortune 500 companies are built at least 2 decades ago, which means that these core systems running some of the major or the world's largest businesses are built at least before smartphone invention was there, or even social media ever existed. I hope you all can relate to the functionalities that you're working today are some time ago built, and we're trying to put patches onto that. 75, other than that, the 70% of the IT budgets are just spent in maintaining their current state rather than putting your thoughts and innovations into that. And only a 30% is left over for them to actually do innovative work on the existing work or like the business goals. So this is a big backdrop, and all the enterprises are facing today. Not just one or two, like every major enterprise today is actually going through this challenge, and I think at least in one phase or the other, they would have implemented certain patterns that are needed. So this is not something new. That said, there are different ways that we can deal this problem, and by various architectural patterns. One of the traditional way is the Big Bang adoption, which we know for a reason. This is with the name, by name itself, we can say the traditional Big Bang adoption is definitely not a one that we would like to adopt because of various reasons that we know, because adopting the user or moving from one to the other immediately causes a disruption. And also, there are a lot of dependencies evolving out of a complex architecture that you cannot move one single user or the consumers out of the existing technologies to the newer one without having them impacted. So that is another challenge. Now, coming to the other one, so I would like to discuss on, let me go back. So hence, on the contrary, I would like to discuss on various patterns that aids incremental modernization, unlike the Big Bang adoption. Let me just, why is this not? Sorry. Okay, that's fine. Okay, coming to the next pattern that I would like to discuss is Strangler fig pattern. By name, probably you all would have known or seen that like this is a very popular pattern, or mostly proven efficient pattern or an approach that gradually replaces legacy systems with the modern microservices, that a new functionality is actually built alongside of the old functionality, and the requests are being routed to both old legacy system as well as a new system, and they are phased out in a way that like users are continuously having one or the other applications available without them having any disruptions. So this is one of the most famous one that I would like to discuss in detail, but there are certain other approaches as well that we can just have a look at it and go in detail with the Strangler pattern. One of the other pattern that comes into my mind is API encapsulation. Here, this API encapsulation by name itself hides the complexity of the legacy systems behind the stable API without having actually altering the underlying code or the underlying legacy system. It actually encapsulates all your complexities into one single layer where the user thinks that he is interacting or he is having a capability to leverage the latest technologies or the latest API technology. Whereas instead of talking to the age-old outdated technologies, user is thinking that like, or the consumer has a capability to leverage the latest API layer. So API encapsulation has its own benefits and pros and cons, but I'm not going into that. We'll go into the other pattern, which is called facade pattern. Facade pattern is also something similar to API encapsulation, but provides the simplest interface to the user where the complex legacy services or the subsystem is hidden, which means we are not touching or making any changes here, but we are actually creating a facade for them to interact so that the requests are sent to the same underlying system. There's a slight difference between API encapsulation and facade pattern, but they look similar to us when we talk about it. And this is actually multiple internal calls are easy to use the APIs. With the discussed advantages of the Strangler pattern, I would like to go or deep dive into the principles and the core values on how this is phased out and how we can integrate AI to maximize its benefits. Strangler pattern actually can be divided into 3 phases. The first phase is interception phase, wherein we actually, here in this interception phase, we create a facade layer, which means all the calls that are coming into the legacy system establishes a controlled entry and then gradually redirects the functionality to your modern implementation. You can see this more clearly in the next phase of the diagram. This phase is a transformation phase. What I meant in the interception phase is actually this facade where when the service is trying to interact with the legacy monolithic backends, when you have an equivalent modernized microservices built, we actually try to route them using the facade. So in transformation phase, we are actually gradually migrating the functionalities from legacy systems to the modern applications without being actually interacting or without having an interruption to the consumers at the front end. This is the phase where we actually have more still on monolithic side, and the modern microservices are evolving day by day. So this happens gradually and it is not one big bang. Coexistence. This phase is when both the legacy monolithic systems as well as your modern microservices systems coexist, which means the users can actually use or they can phase out to their latest technologies without being actually focusing only on legacy monolithic. This way, we still have a backup option of a legacy monolithic application in case we have to revert back for any situation. During all these phases, users can be kept at minimal disruption or zero disruption without even they having to make any changes in the front end. This can be done client agnostic. Let me actually, this is what I explained about AI, not AI, the Strangler pattern as such, but let me tell you how we can integrate AI to Strangler pattern and maximize the benefits that we can actually get to. This is one example I would like to explain where the consumers are, we have multiple consumers and one service which actually talks to monolithic applications. Monolithic here have one single or multiple applications which talks to legacy age-old databases or legacy age-old technologies like COBOL, mainframes, data power. There are a lot to mention. So we have those, and in the first phase of where you say in interception phase, we actually build a microservice equivalent to the applications that we already have in monolithic. That means we start building little small microservices, each one by one in a modern microservices world, or that can be deployed into cloud. You can have different databases that we use today in technologies, and we can have all the latest technology tech stack that you can monitor, take care of them. And then there is a facade that is created again with the latest technologies that we can leverage that facade to actually intercept the calls that are coming to service and send them to either your monolithic legacy system or your microservice, or both at the same time. While doing that, at a phase that once the transformation phase is done and the coexistence phase, we have both of them available. When you have both of these available, we usually do something called equivalency testing, where we actually take information or the responses from this microservice as well as your legacy system, compare it and certify the responses that yes, my changes or my transformation is now complete, and you can actually tell the user to either go to this technology or continue to use on the legacy systems. This is one phase. And I have actually listed out in every phase of interception, transformation, and the coexistence that was done in a traditional way, but we also implemented AI as the technologies are evolving. So we have seen a drastic change or a drastic improvement in the timelines and other areas that I'm going to discuss now. So discovery assessment or intelligent dependency mapping. Previously, we used to do all the dependency mappings manually, figure out which technology or which service is actually interacting with which components of the services and how is that impacting us. But with all discovery and other assessment AI tools that we have today, we actually felt this can be reduced, and there's one tool that we developed in-house and also that is used across a patented one, which is our company called Endeavor Solutions. We built GX Maps, which actually integrates a lot of components together, and it actually establishes a detailed report stating which components and what is that approach that you can take which is best suited for your migration pattern. Prioritization and AI-driven decision making. So prioritization, as you know, is very much necessary for us to see which way to go, which is the right migration approach, or which is the shortest path that we can take. And we have used a lot of tools like Informatica Claire as well as Data Robot to actually see that we can prioritize it faster than what we have done in a traditional method. Controlled and safer transitions and integrated using features like Launch Directly feature and Argo rollouts to enhance this, wherein Launch Directly is one of the tools that you can use to route your requests or the subset of requests that are coming based on a feature-enabled or the conditional-based routing can be possible. So this helps you a lot in transforming your request from the legacy systems to the monolithic if there is a new feature that needs to be embedded into as you are developing these. Because we do not want to stop any of the development activities as we are actually working on the existing one. So we still have to evolve out of it. Data migration and data cleansing. Informatica Claire and Talent can be used for data cleansing, as you all know, and it actually boosts the performance and reliability before we actually move on. So this is an opportunity that you can enhance your capabilities when you are using these tools. Intelligent traffic routing and analysis. This can be done with Dynatrace AI Ops or Nginx AI routing. We have used a lot on this while we are actually routing the traffic pattern when we are not completely confident about certain features. We have made 2% routing to the newer system and at least 98% to the older system to manipulate and see how we can actually react to the newer systems. So that gives us a leverage to test our functionalities ahead of time. Anomaly detections. Anomaly detections, as you all know, probably you are already using a lot of monitoring tools like Dynatrace, New Relic, Datadog and all. But these can be, right now, they are very much enhanced and available for all of us to use that can be leveraged to detect the anomalies ahead of time before they turn out into huge problems. Optimizing testing and facilitation, as I discussed earlier, I was talking about the equivalency testing. This can be achieved using a GX quality, which was trademarked again to our company Endeavor Solutions, where we can actually use for equivalency testing to provide the results between both legacy system and the modernized system and certify them before even you give it back to your users. And continuously, with all these features available, we have to feed the migration lessons learned to the MLOps or Data Robot and H2O AI. These are the tools that we have used in continuous learning process and finding back the feedbacks for us for future migrations. All this said, by now you would have understood the benefits of how we actually realized as an organization from AI-enhanced strangulation pattern. But as we go in further, these are accelerated, modernized process, streamlines our processes, and organizations get a better benefits and cuts transformation times drastically with a faster deployment and less downtime. And enhanced risk assessment process during this enables you to assess your risk associated accurately and upfront, reducing the chances of downtime or failures. And as you all know, this definitely leads to a continuous optimization because the modern strategies and ensure transformation aligns with your business goals. Now, To talk about all this in terms of numbers, AI transformation with strangulation impacted organization is like 50% cost, it resulted in 50% of cost reduction and streamlined processes, optimized practices, and other activities as we discussed earlier. And also, we have seen that there is a 40% reduction in timeline that we are able to deliver faster than what we have delivered in the traditional way, along with the 90% of self-optimization, which means we are optimizing our applications as we go, as we are building this. From our recent experience or recent implementations in the years, we implemented both the traditional patterns as well as AI-driven enhanced Strangler pattern, and we have seen that we have brought down the timelines from 12 months to 4 months with about $8 million in savings and about 99.2% of success rate. This is like, at least I've been working for last 4 to 5 years. We have implemented it in a traditional way as well as in an AI strangulated pattern. Now that, like I said, all these migrations are so worthful and this is helpful, it doesn't mean that they are not coming with any challenges. The key challenge that we have seen while we are implementing this is maintaining the consistent communication between the legacy systems and the new microservices. That is, like you always have to be very consistent with what you are providing back to the users. And the data integrity and the consistency must be carefully preserved during these migrations. So apart from all the things that we are actually seeing, the AI Strangler pattern is definitely a proven approach that incrementally migrates your legacy systems to the modernized works with reduced risks in all-in-one migration. And as said, while we are doing this, since being incremental, it is very safer, and also gradual shifts leads to less downtime, fewer failures, and easier scaling for innovation and faster innovation. And this is not just me saying this. A lot of big tech companies like Amazon, Netflix have been implementing this for years now. But now that AI is coming into play, we are coming up with the new tools and how we can optimize and coexist along with these technologies. That said, I would like to conclude my insight into this, and I would be very happy to have further conversations if you have any questions around this. Thank you so much.